Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Olly's Farm, and today you join me here at Dereham at G&J Pecs Limited, which is a JCB and New Holland dealer, and today we're checking out this JCB 54170 Agri Pro. Walking around the machine here we can see it's been fitted with Michelin tyres, and it's also a special 40 years of JCB Loadall limited edition model. So this is actually a special edition with the black bonnet and the black chassis, the yellow lines there going around the bonnet, and also you'll see on the other side as well there are a few little features such as the decals here on the door. So entering the cab, we can see compared to the JCB 526 on the farm, the cab's a lot bigger. I know we shouldn't really compare this model with the JCB at home, but it is a lot bigger, the actual cab space in here. And if we just climb up into the Agri Pro, we can see we've got the Agri Pro stainless steel plate on the bottom there. And moving into the cab, it's a very nice place to be indeed. We've got the joystick on an armrest here, which is actually integrated into the seat, and I've also got all of the buttons on the right to my right hand side here. And looking at the dashboard, everything has been nicely placed out and nicely laid out there, and we've also got there the JCB Agri Pro logo on the steering wheel. Now moving up, we can see we've got good visibility to the top, and we've also got slightly angled bars to improve your visibility. So if we just shut the door, I'll just turn the machine on, and there we go. Immediately we can see that the boom is very responsive when using the joystick. That is due to the larger pump which is on this machine. It's a completely different hydraulic pump system compared to the 526. And if you just look how quick the boom comes down there, it is unbelievably fast, and it's also very, very accurate. I can pinpoint where I want the boom to actually go, which I know sounds slightly strange, but you really feel like you're in control of the boom all of the time. You've got very good accuracy, for example when you'll be placing bales or loading lorries, etc, etc. JCB, and just starting it up. And we'll just take it around the yard. Unfortunately we can't do any really good tests off-road, for example, or using some big implements or block spreading, for example, but we can just see what it's like around the yard here, just to kind of get an impression of how it operates. So I've just put it into forwards, and it's in the eco mode at the moment, and we're using the Dual-Tech VT around the yard, which is the hydrostatic system which JCB has adopted to control their telehandlers now, certainly with the Agri Pros at least anyway. So when you go around the yard, for example now, if I take my foot off the accelerator, the machine comes to a complete standstill. And then if I resume, I can then smoothly go forwards, and again it comes to a standstill when I take my foot off the accelerator. So if I put my foot back on, it then speeds up, and there's no gears involved. It is basically an infinitely variable transmission up to 19 kilometers an hour, and after 19 kilometers an hour it then changes to a power shift transmission, where it will then proceed up to over 40 kilometers an hour with the power shift gearbox which is inside. So it's basically two gearboxes. It's half hydrostat and it's half power shift. Hydrostat when it's around the yard, and power shift when you are on the road. So you've got quite a nice few features there for when you're operating the machine. Now, although this machine is a lot larger than the 526 we've got on the farm at home, I can more or less spin this on the spot just like I can with the 526. It's still quite manoeuvrable, but it is a much bigger machine compared to what I am actually used to. So it's a very different machine, and yet in some ways it isn't, because it is very familiar, certainly for me in the cab here, with the JCB controls and the layout and everything, and how it all operates, except the cab is much bigger, and the lift capacity as well is also a lot bigger. This is a 4-ton machine, so it lifts over 4 ton. It's actually a 4.1 ton machine, sorry, so it can actually lift just over 4 ton. If you've got a bucket on, for example, you're going to be carrying realistically just over 3 tons of material. So there we are, guys. We've driven around the yard, we've seen what the machine's like. Although it is a much bigger machine compared to what I am used to, it's certainly very different and quite unique in terms of the transmission, which is obviously the hydrostat crossed over with the power shift. So it's something a bit different today. I just thought I'd come down and show you guys this machine, especially with it being as well 40 years of JCB anniversary edition, so it's something a bit different. And this machine actually is sold. It's a demonstrator machine. There's actually two of these machines here, 2 Agri Pros. This is the only one which I believe which is a limited edition 40th anniversary, but the other machine as well has been sold. So they've actually both been sold, the Agri Pros, at this dealership, because these are actually demonstrators. So you can actually, if you were going to buy one of these, it would be slightly cheaper obviously than buying a new one. This particular model also has a 145 horsepower engine, so it's got quite a lot of horsepower for a telehandler, which would make it ideal for when you're on the road pulling trailers and things, for example. Also, as well as standard, the rear drive wheels here is actually where the drive comes from when you're in just the 2-wheel drive mode, whereas previously, for example on the one at home, the drive is actually on the front wheels, but on these newer Agri Pro models you get the drive as standard in 2-wheel drive on the rear axle, and that's very handy when you're towing a trailer, because then you can get the power down straight off the bat to the rear, where it's got the weight of the trailer on the back from the drawbar, for example. So that's another feature with this Agri Pro. Now, I know there is a brand new JCB Agri Pro out at the moment, and I did see it the other day at Lama, but I just thought it would be nice to review this older version here, which isn't really that old. It's only a couple of years old now, if that, but it's just nice to see what it is like, and then we can actually, when we do get a chance to look at the new JCB in detail, we can actually have a bit of a comparison on this particular model, because obviously the cab on this is a little bit smaller now, of course, compared to the newer JCB. At Lama the other day, the big feature of the new one was actually the big cab which was on it, but this one obviously has the standard cab, but it's still, in my opinion, quite a nice cab. It's quite a nice place to be. The visibility is very good as well, with the nice curved windscreen, and yes, just a very, very nice telehandler in general. Just a very nice piece of equipment, which I'm sure if you bought it would last quite a long time on your farm, because it is very heavily built. And also, I like all of the ergonomics on it. It's a very nice control on the joystick when you're controlling the boom up and down, for example. The steering is nice and responsive. Again, the throttle is also nice and responsive. Great visibility. I'm sure at night with the LED pack it would be brilliant as well. Obviously a 4-ton lift on this machine would be fantastic for when you're lifting those heavy loads, especially if you're mucking out, for example, and you've got quite a lot of dense muck, or if you're loading lorries, having that extra weight would help you plant the machine on the ground, for example, when you're tipping quite a heavy load into a lorry, when you're boomed right out. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing this JCB today. Something a bit different. If you have, do hit the subscribe button down below, and you can also follow the Ollie's Farm Instagram page, which is ollies.farm in the Instagram search bar. And if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up, and as always, do comment, rate and subscribe for plenty more videos to come.